What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and CES just started a few hours ago or overnight, depending on what way you want to look at it. I live in Ireland, so obviously it's 8 o'clock in the morning here, so it started in the middle of the night. Now, Nvidia being the big ballers that they are, they pretty much arguably kicked off and headlined the event, showing off stuff like Mass Effect, Andromeda footage, and just being beasts in general. But after all of that, the CEO of Nvidia and just guy with exquisite taste in leather jackets. The CEO, I always try pronounce this name, but I probably do it horribly. Jensung Huang probably butchered it, probably didn't. Who knows? But he came out onto the stage and he announced the new Nvidia Shield TV, or as they're just calling it now, the Nvidia Shield. They've dropped the TV part of it. So does that potentially mean that there's going to be no more tablets ever? Well, they've already hinted towards that when they released the X1 series of chips a while back, that they're using the original TV, but they didn't update the tablet with an X1 chip, and now there's the X2 chip, and there's still no mention of a more powerful tablet version of it just yet. Anyway, this video isn't going to be just about the whole reveal and specs and all that of the Shield, the new Shield. I'm actually going to kind of gloss over them a lot and even leave some of them out, because I want to talk about the reason why I think this is important and the reason why this might finally tip the scales for me getting one. So real quick, it's pretty much the same thing as the previous version of the Shield. It looks almost identical, if not identical. It does come with the new controller, which looks to have the weird Deus Ex angle kind of feel on it, but it looks to be a better shaped controller. So that's some of the more important things. One of the big things that some people will find, depending on what you use your actual Shield box for, is we all know the original Shield had 4K support. So that's still there, of course. But this one has 4K HDR support. So depending on, it has, sorry, let me rephrase that. It has 4K HDR support for videos, video movies, and games. So if you use it as like an actual TV and media streaming box, you're covered. If you're using it just for the game services and all, you're covered. So it's got both of them on there as well. The most curious thing about this one is, myself included, I was always expecting, because the previous version of this, the Shield TV, used the Tegra X1 chip they had, which is an animal, by the way. I was always expecting, if they did announce a successor, that it would use the Tegra X2, which sounds more logical if you ask me, right? Now, while I couldn't watch this presentation live because it was the middle of the night for me and I was asleep, but when I checked out all the outlets and reports and all about it, there's I won't even call it a little bit of conflicting information, but there's some stuff that was kind of left out, some stuff that was kind of interpreted, and there's some stuff that kind of makes sense when you look at it. So real quick one, I'm just going to mention that off the top anyway. So they didn't specifically come out and say it's using the X2, but because of the Pascal series architecture, you think with the efficiency and power of it, you think they'd make a big deal of it. So they didn't come out and say it's using the X2. They didn't come out and say it's not using the X2. So when you look at all of that, as well as basically everywhere I looked online and every video and report and all I saw, all of them except for one said that there was no mention of what chip it's actually using. One other media outlet that I read actually said they confirmed, if you will, they actually put it in writing, but I don't know if it is confirmed or not, that it was still using the Maxwell X1 instead of the Pascal X2. So for all intents and purposes, I'm basing this off the fact that it's still using the Maxwell X1. Now, because of all of that, there's also a cheaper entry-level price point announced. It's going to be $200 in the US. It's unconfirmed from what I could find out if that's going to be a 16 gig, a 500 gig, or some sort of new capacity that it's available in. Previously, there was a 16 gig and a 500 gig. Now, they've only announced a one model for this. But again, I couldn't find the exact capacity listed for this new one. Now, So I think this is going to be the part where I'm actually getting into my aspect of it. So I think this is actually going to finally be the tipping point where I pick up an Nvidia Shield. I've wanted an Nvidia Shield for ages. For like, I don't know when was it first announced? Like maybe 2 years ago, whenever it was. But I have wanted one shortly after its original release. For the simple reason is, when it first came out, I had no interest in it. You're looking at things like, the Nvidia, or not just the Nvidia, but you're looking at Android set-top boxes and things like that. They don't appeal to me personally. I have no use for them. I realize that for many people out there, they're great alternatives, and that they're very useful for many people. To me, not so much. But a couple of weeks after the first announcement and the first release of the original Nvidia Shield TV, the guys over at Dolphin Emulator took extreme use of the excellent beast quality Tegra X1 that's included in it. So because of that, they showed off Dolphin. I believe it was 4.0 at the time. Dolphin 5 is out now. But I believe they showed off Dolphin 4 as a work in progress, running on the X1, making absolute mincemeat of Wii games at 1080p, 8x MSAA with like 16 AF, and GameCube games with the same stuff, and it was making mincemeat of them. They were running at a flawless 60 FPS with all the settings and natively rendered at a higher resolution than the original software, or the original hardware, I should say, or software, depending on what way you want to look at it. But because of that specifically, I had wanted an Nvidia Shield TV. I wanted to get a 500 gig model after the Dolphin style emulator or app or whatever you want to call it was perfected for it. Load up 500 gigs worth of not just good Wii games, GameCube games, and everything before it that it could properly emulate. It's Android, so it can do it really well. There's so many emulators out there that can do all that stuff. So that's the reason I wanted one originally. And I had put off buying it for so long. It was always, I want to buy one. I just don't want to buy one right now. I still want to get it. I just don't want to do it right now. I think this is going to be the tipping point that changes that. So I'm looking forward to probably I'm looking in my head right now at the next couple of months financially, and I think I'll probably pick one of these up, hopefully, depending on the European price. We all know we get screwed over here in Europe on prices, but price depending, and release time and availability depending. It's available in the US as of what is today, essentially the 5th, according to the press release I saw anyway. It's like available now. So depending on availability, release date, and price, I can probably see myself picking up one of these by the end of February, if even that late, possibly the start of February, because I can make a lot of use for this and it would do excellent for me. Now, most people will say stuff like, oh, you've got all these consoles for emulation, you've got a beast PC for emulation. There's a little bit of a difference. It's so much easier to just be able, it's so much easier, and it'll be so nice to be able to dump all these types of games across all these platforms onto this little device that is connected to my TV. I realize my PC is sitting right beside my TV as well, but that's not an issue. But just to be able to sit down with the controller and do it, what I could call easier than the PC. To be honest, it's not hard to do it on PC at all. But we'll call it the streamlined experience the entire time on this, as well as proper GameCube and Wii emulation without using Dolphin, on the TV without having to do anything extra. It's going to be worth it for me, if you ask me. I mean, I know it's not for everyone, just like previously Android boxes were for other people that weren't me, but this one does it for me in particular. And with the specs on the new one, well, I say specs, but the changes on the new one, as in price, and I won't even call it functionality because it's still rumored to be the X1 from the Maxwell series. It does it for me with the lower price point well, the alleged lower price point. We'll see how it goes in Europe and all that, and possibly what if it's 16 gig or 500, whatever. They've only announced that there's going to be one model of this new one, so chances are it's going to be 500 gig. To be honest, I realize you can use extra storage, external media and stuff with it desperately easy, but it's not the point. We'll see how it goes anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing more about it within, well, later today or within the next few days, when they actually start going on sale and being properly released and all the actual 100% specs come out. But I'm pretty much like 99% sure I'm going to be getting one of these within the next, we'll call it 2 months just for the sake of it. So let me know if this new announcement for the Shield has you interested in it. Are you going to pick one up just for like Android box usage, for gaming usage, for Steam usage, streaming usage, whatever? Or if, like me, you're going to use it as a pretty fucking hardcore emulation box. So let me know all of that anyway in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.